If you started your info business between 2020 to 2023, congratulations, because you experienced what I call the golden age of the info market. It was basically like the roaring 20s of info. You had easy money, you had overnight success, and you were experiencing a party that felt like it was never gonna end. I've been in this space for almost 10 years and it was crazy to watch. Pretty much anyone could create just a generic, shitty, and I say that in the most respectful way, coaching program. You could run Facebook ads to a basic funnel and print 50, 100, even 300K a month with ease. I mean, people were making millions with simple funnels, basic email sequences, and promises that seemed too good to be true because the market was just, there was so much money flowing in the market. Obviously, with all the lockdowns, with people having all of this disposable income and the market just filled with so much more trust and excitement. You know, back then you had 3 to 5 times higher conversion rates. You had 60% lower ad costs and crazy day one cash collected rates. I mean, you had buyers just wanting to throw whatever money they had at you. But just like Black Tuesday in 1929, the party had to come to an end. The speculative bubble of customer trust finally popped in, I would say 2024 was when I really started to see it. In 2025, that same sloppy Facebook ad to VSL combo is now losing you money. That call funnel that used to convert at 10% from opt-in, now you're lucky to get 2%. The same customers that used to throw down on a 10K coaching program, now they're spending weeks researching on a $97 low ticket product. If you are still trying to use 2022 strategies in 2025, it's like trying to come to a gunfight with a blade. The same weapons in your arsenal that made you money back in that market is now going to keep you broke. Now, honestly, I don't really have an agenda for today's video. It's a bit of a brain dump, quite frankly, but it's something I've been thinking about a lot because I've been in this space a very long time and we've already clocked in our 8th consecutive year in a row, year-on-year increase in profit. I mean, we just came off the back of an 8-figure month in profit, not revenue, by the way. And honestly, I feel like the coaching info market is the most unnecessarily hated. I feel like it's the most villainized. I feel like it's the most honestly poorly treated industry in the world. I genuinely believe that 99% of our industry are well-intentioned, are honorable people, and yeah, it's a bit sad for me to see what's going on. Now, I really just wanted to discuss a few big shifts I'm seeing in the market. One of the big things that I'm seeing is shouting louder is actually making you poorer. And here's what I mean by that. What I'm noticing is that when people in the coaching and info space, when they see their conversion rates drop, they think, okay, well, let me make the offer or the promises even more aggressive, even more aggressive, even more aggressive. So they make bigger promises or bigger risk reversals. And a lot of times that actually has the opposite effect. It's like being in a restaurant where everyone starts talking louder and louder and louder. And now all of a sudden you need to shout just to hear anything. And then pretty soon everyone's screaming at the top of their lungs and no one can hear anything. And that kind of is what the info market has felt like in the last year or 2 years. And what you need to realize is the more aggressive your promises are, the more distrustful your customers become. So obviously this is different in different niches, whether you're selling fitness, whether you're selling self-improvement, whether you're selling dating, whether you're selling finance, whether you're in the bisop niche. Let's use a bisop niche, for example. I'm seeing more and more people go forward with more and more crazy income claims, when you need to realize that the more crazy your income claims become, the less and less people are like, wow, I can actually do that. So for example, when you're trying to sell to beginners and be like, here's how you get to 100K a month, it's like for a lot of them, they just genuinely want to not even replace their full-time jobs. A lot of them just want supplementary income. And if you take that approach, they're actually going to trust you a lot more. And for example, in our recent event, that's one of the biggest things that we did was we took this big, loud market and we actually just brought down the bar to a place where people actually were like, wow, I could actually do this. And the other thing is people are just throwing these crazy, crazy offers out there. And these crazy offers actually have the opposite effect, where now all of a sudden people see these offers and they're like, they smell something fishy. Okay, there's something fishy about it, especially if you can't back it up. There needs to be a reasoning for it. So for example, in our last event, we have a work with you until you win guarantee. I can't make any income guarantees because quite frankly, I can't sit there and do the work for our users. But what I can say is, hey, if you don't get the results, we'll keep working with you until you do. Now, the reason that I can pull that off as a co-owner in WAP is that they are using my platform for processing. So because of that, I can actually validate real results. If I didn't have that in place, I would have to use something else. But it needs to be a mechanism that's realistic. So one of the big things that I'm seeing in the info market is the people at the top levels, they're actually making their outcomes less sensational, less spectacular, more realistic. And because of that, they're converting so much higher. So that's the first thing I would urge you to consider, is just look at your offer. And it's funny because I guarantee for 99% of people, the more realistic you make it. So if you actually drop the bar of what it is that you're actually promising to people, I guarantee your conversions will go up. You just always need to put yourself on the other side of the table as, one of your prospects and go, does this even sound believable? And start coming up with the limiting beliefs, start coming up with the objections before the market gives them to you. And one of the things this is causing, and this is really quite a large premise of mine for this next event, and one of the big discussion points, I'm noticing that, in every industry, I say this in the most respectful way possible, because like, let's say, for example, you're in the steel business. Like if you manufacture steel, like the middle class of steel could be, okay, your steel manufacturing business only does 100 million a year. Like that puts you in the middle class. So, I see this in genuinely the most respectful way possible. In the info game, I find the info middle class is between like 20 to 100, 150, sometimes even 200K a month. And what's happening, very similar to the Great Depression, is like the middle class is getting evaporated. So what I'm actually seeing is that people making 5, 10, 15, even 20K a month, that middle class of infopreneurs, they're actually doing super well and they're actually crushing it. And the people doing above 200K a month, they're also crushing it. It's really those people between that 20 to 200K a month mark where they're kind of getting squeezed out. They either have to make the choice. Am I going to relegate myself to more of the solopreneur, solo coach, sort of that 20 to 30K mark? Or am I going to join the big boy leagues? So if I had to look at the characteristics of the upper class of infopreneurs, coaches, consultants, there's a few things that they do right. First things first, they understand the new rules of the game and they have adaptability. Like if I look at our industry and our space, like how I know someone's going to make it is how adaptable they are and how they're not married to one format. So they're not married to one funnel type or one price point. They will adapt and they will flex with the market. So that's the first characteristic. Next, they think in terms of moats rather than tactics. And what I mean by a moat is there's certain things in our industry. For me, one of the biggest things is having a brand. That is a moat. Next thing is team. I actually think that past having a brand, having a solid team, the churn in my info business is ridiculously low. I have everyone in my C-suite, every single one of them has been in the company for 3 years, some up to even 5 years. So number one is building a brand, whether that's you personally or your business in of itself. There's some info businesses that have a brand, a standalone brand. Next is team. And the last thing I say is offer, really making sure that you become a category of one and you become the go-to person in your industry. And if I compare that to what I'm seeing with the people in the middle class of info who are getting relegated down, first things first, they're still using outdated strategies from the golden era of info. Then they're competing on even more aggressive offers, even more aggressive guarantees, claims, all this stuff, instead of actually competing on value. And the big thing, and I see this a lot with people are in our industry, is they're working in the business, not on the business. Now, I actually hate that term because I see a lot of people who actually get too far removed from things. They're like, I just need to work on the business. I can't work in the business. Like, no, you'll always work in the business to an extent. But what I mean by that is I actually really feel for people in our industry because it's like, you have to do everything at once. Like you have to learn how to create content, how to create ads, also how to create product, also how to run a team, how to do sales. Like in our business, it feels like you're drowning at times because there's so many things that you have to do. And I genuinely do feel bad for founders in our industry because I feel like there's so much that's asked of them. You do have duties and you do have responsibilities. So the only way you can mitigate against that is building the right systems and making sure that you have the right team. And, shout out to the people who signed up to the event and took the Command Center offering. Basically, the Command Center is 5 of our most powerful SOPs, 5 of the most powerful systems out of 60 that we give our private clients. And these private clients are paying multiple 5 figures a year for the privilege of getting access to these systems. So I think really now you have a binary choice. And by the way, I want to make it clear, I'm not one of these people who are like, you have to do blah, blah. Like you don't have to do all in your business. You get to choose. If you want to be more in the comfortable, hey, make 20K a month in profit and, kind of chill and relax, like that's cool. It's your business. You get to decide. But really the point is you have to make a choice. Do you want to relegate yourself to that market or do you want to send up to info elite? And as I said, that's a choice that you have to make. There is no right or wrong. I'm just looking at it as an observer and, someone who's been very intimately involved in this space for a long time. And I'm like, this market, the middle class of infopreneurs, they're the ones that are genuinely having it the hardest. Now, going back to something I mentioned earlier, when there are tough times, investors, they don't like panic sell their stocks. That's not a smart strategic move. What they do in those times instead is they double down on the safe havens. Now, what's historically one of the best safe havens? Gold. And in our digital economy, building a brand, even if it's a small niche personal brand or niche, brand for your business, for your info business, that is the equivalent of gold. While everyone else is focused on quick wins, the smart money, the smart infopreneurs, they are investing heavily in digital gold. They're investing heavily in building a moat for their business. Instead of trying to convince people to trust you, instead you demonstrate your expertise naturally. You position yourself exactly where people will find you when they need a solution. And also what this does is it builds up pent-up demand. People who find you along the year build trust with you, spend time with you, come into your worldview, understand how you view your market and your unique mechanisms, your offer, your solution. Listen, let's say someone else in my industry was recording a similar sort of video. They might have different opinions, and that's what all makes us unique and special. Like, that's cool. They have their worldview. I have my worldview. But the point is, if I'm going to ask you to part ways with your money, then of course I have to bring you into my world and I have to explain and reason with you as to why I do things the way that I do and why my solution is structured in the way that it's structured. And listen, I'll give you a perfect example of this. I actually was speaking to them earlier, so I asked for their blessing. We actually work with pretty much every top info business inside of our private client program. And just in general, for me, privacy is important and I don't like to disclose people's information. So of course, I'm not going to say the company name, but they really kind of drill this point home. I have a private client that's come to us to basically help restructure their entire info business. These guys did $120 million last year. In 2024, did $120 million. So they were literally the largest company in acquisition.com's portfolio. And you would think a company that did $120 million last year, okay, why would they need to focus on content? Like, they did no content last year. And as I said, I'm not going to divulge any sort of private information or anything like that, but they came to me in a very difficult time to kind of set their business back in order. And by the way, I want to make it clear, content is not a saving grace. Like, I talk a lot about content and building a personal brand, but as you guys see, I love ads, but I just think ads without a brand and building all the other stuff first, you're not going to get the sort of results you want. And like for example, last month we spent $750K on ads. Now we liquidated $500K back of that. So we only spent, it only cost us $250K, and we did well over 8 figures last month from it. So I'm not opposed to ads in any shape, form, or fashion. I want to make that clear. But in our business and anything you do in life, you have to think offense and you have to think defense. And I sleep well at night knowing that I have the defense of a brand. Now, I'm not saying you need to have millions of followers and this, that. I mean, this YouTube channel is a testament to it. I could upload on my YouTube channel with millions and millions of subscribers, but yet I upload here instead. So it's more about having the right people watch your content, not just having anyone watch your content. But these gentlemen are a perfect example where they understand that maybe something worked in the past, but that thing that worked in the past can now be the thing that drives your business to the ground. So all I can do is sit here and be a messenger and tell you, I know what the top people in the industry do. I mean, listen, at WAP, we process $115 million a month at the moment in volume. And me personally, just helping out privately behind the scenes, a lot of people in this industry, I would say that I can see the landscape shift real time, day by day, and I know what's working, what's not working. And genuinely, I can tell you the smart money in this industry, it's something that's on their radar. It's something they're focusing on. And these people, they understand when it comes to building a brand and building content, it's not an overnight 100x. Of course not. It's never going to have the same short-term effect as ads. Of course. But what it is, it's a force multiplier. And what it is, it's a moat when times get difficult and times get tough. And listen, difficult times will come for everyone. Okay, it's part of the game. Now, the next big thing that I'm seeing smart money, smart people in our industry do is embrace and welcome AI rather than get scared of it. Because I get it, as a infopreneur in the info industry, in the coaching industry, you look at it and you're like, okay, well, AI is probably the smartest informational tool on earth. So is that potentially a threat to our industry? Yes and no. It is if you let it be, and it's not if you embrace it, and you embrace it quick. Listen, quite frankly, AI can create content, but it can't create authority. Sure, AI can write copy, but it can't build relationships. AI can answer questions, but it can't provide accountability. AI can give information, but it can't create transformation. That's really important, okay? I'm gonna say that again. AI can give information, but it doesn't create transformation. That's really important. And that's really what you need to keep in your mind as you think, okay, how do I embrace AI to make my coaching, my info business stronger, not weaker? So AI is really starting to create this transformation between information providers and transformation providers. And what's interesting is information providers are becoming more commoditized, whereas transformation providers, or I would even say transformation facilitators, are becoming more valuable than ever before. And I put my money where my mouth is. In one of our companies, Monetize, we created a tool specifically to help solve one of the biggest problems that our customers face. And this is a tool that we've been developing for the last year. We made it public 6 months ago, and then we've been revising it and bettering it ever since. And it's still getting better day by day. And then we have another company, which I can't take credit for. It's actually a Brazilian AI company that my CMO started using a year ago, because I actually started to notice his workflow was getting so much quicker. And I was like, Luis, what are you doing? Like, I noticed the velocity at which he was providing marketing assets was speeding up tenfold. And then he started telling me about this Brazilian software that was developed by pretty much the best info marketers in Brazil. Had a conversation with them, got involved with them. We basically took that tool, rebranded it, turned it into English, white labeled it, and we pay a licensing fee for each person that joins Monetize to get access to it. So yes, of course it cuts into margin, but increases conversions far more than, the increase in conversion offsets our licensing fee for it. And those are just 2 tools that we've implemented. There's far more that we're working on, a couple others that I'm looking to invest in. So that way, once again, I can license them as well. So as you start to rejig your offer, and as you start to think about AI, I really want you just to open your mind and just think of yourself no longer as an info business, because I do believe info is getting commoditized. I think truly you need to think about yourself as a transformation business. What are the best, yes, information, yes, video training, yes, coaching, yes, accountability, but also tools that you can create that provide the best transformation possible for your customers and for your clients. So those are just a few of like dozens of things. I mean, we can get very, very granular here. Extremely, extremely granular. I apologize if this was a little bit unorganized, but just a few thoughts I had going on in my mind. So yeah, if you're still watching this video, I would love your feedback. Can you leave in the comments, what style of video do you prefer me making on this channel? Do you want more tactical stuff? Do you want more iPad stuff? I know I go crazy sometimes with the presentations that we do. Like, what would you actually like to see more of on this channel? And the final thing I'll say is I want you truly to give yourself a pat on the back if you're still in this game. As I said in the beginning of this video, I feel like our industry is the most unfairly villainized industry in the world. You go look at the traditional transformation providers, they have no f***ing guidelines. You think colleges have refund policies? You think colleges can provide any indication of their success rate? You think colleges have any sort of fail safes? Or hey, you're lagging behind, so we can provide you these extra resources. No, they don't care, and they're gonna charge you 5 times, 10 times, 100 times what we charge in our industry. Yet for some reason it gets villainized. But I think that truly is changing. I mean, I know I really am rambling now, but even if you go look at like platforms like Spotify, BBC, like they're all launching courses, which also is another part of why this market is changing so much. It's like they're now catching up to the information side of things, just the, hey, here's an info course, enjoy. That's not good enough. And that's why those businesses are going to struggle. So get out of the information business and get into the transformation business. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll catch you in the next one.